Good morning. This is Paul Merriweather with Small Biz Shoutout, and today we are speaking with Jim Lochrie of Mossy Oak Properties. And just full disclaimer, I've known Jim for a long time, but again, he's pretty passionate about his business that he's doing right now. But he has a very diverse background. So, Jim, I want you to just give us a quick, brief bio about what you've done. I want you to tell about what you studied in college, because I think that applies. What you did in your career, because I think that'll be interesting car ride conversations for the people that go look at properties with you, and then we'll get into some other things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, at college, I graduated from Michigan Tech University up there in the UP, and I majored in biological science, and my intention was to pursue a career in natural resources, which I began to do. Graduated in the oil shock recession, 79, so it was tough to get a job in that field, but I did work for a consulting firm over the summer. I worked on Isle Royale for a whole summer, did botany research for the professor there on Isle Royale. I worked out in California, Southern California, and San Diego for a marine consulting company, Living Marine Resources. So I got a start in the natural resources field, but life has a way of driving you to make more money, and especially once you get married and have kids. So I ended up going to getting into GM and became involved in General Motors in product development, design, product planning, and program management. My last job at GM was as program director for performance and luxury cars, which would be Cadillac rear-wheel drive sedans, Corvette, and Camaro. So I've had a diverse run and enjoyed it all. But
and now you're pursuing your passion. Is
yes, and
that
now I'm
correct?
back to pursuing the passion. I loved GM, I loved automotive, but the corporate environment was probably not my favorite place to be at all times. And so now I'm back to pursuing my passion for the out of doors, and also my passion to help people connect with the out of doors the way I love to.
Gotcha. So I'll tell you this: whenever we have the opportunity to talk, and whenever it comes down to, or close to hunting season starting, and or duck hunting, there's a different way you talk about that versus your jobs at your prior employers. So tell me a little bit about your passion, and how you kind of got started, and how this passion just kind of developed, and why you're doing what you're doing right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard for me to explain how it started. Most people who are avid outdoorsmen, whether they're fishing, like fishing, hunting, both, usually it's a family thing. With me, it was not. My father neither hunted nor fished, nor did anyone else in my family. It was just in me. I guess from the time we were little kids, if we went on a barbecue or a picnic, I went off and found the woods in the creek and followed the creek and caught everything I could catch in the creek and all that kind of stuff. So it's just been in me from the time I was very small. I've always loved the woods. I've always loved water. And I just loved all the activities associated with that. And so I taught myself to hunt. As soon as I was allowed to go out alone with a firearm, I was out, hunting. And so it was kind of just all self-taught. And I just had that passion since I was a kid. And so now this is kind of like the fantasy of being able to work along my childhood passion, which is what I'm doing.
I think that's everybody's dream. So that's awesome. So Jim, let's jump into a little bit of the economy a little bit, right? And so I think right now there's a lot of people who are, understand that the housing market as well as the stock market are basically melting up a little bit here, right? And they're fleeing to safe havens, whether it be gold, silver, or crypto. But why don't you talk to me a little bit about the economics of owning land? Because I know you've talked a little bit about that before, and you've actually done some comparisons and provided some charts in terms of the value return on owning, land. And that there may be houses on there, there are cabins, there may not. But just kind of, can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, sure. So one of the things, the obstacles a lot of people have to buying a recreational property is that they look at it as an expense, like a Disneyland vacation or a timeshare or something like that, where, yeah, it's fun, it's a great time with my family, but it's all money out the door, which is not the right way to look at a land investment. Land is a legitimate investment, truly an investment, every bit as much as gold, silver, stocks, bonds, annuities, fill in the blank. And so, in fact, in a time of economic uncertainty, such as we now face, um, being diversified, not having all your money in paper, is a good idea. And so, what do you diversify into? There's different options, and one would be, like precious metals, but another one is land, real estate in various forms. And actually, Michigan State University did a study and found that between 25-year period between 1992 and 2016, rural land in Michigan appreciated at the exact same rate, 7.0% per year, as the Standard and Poor's 500. And so, that was included
7.8%,
boom.
you said?
No,
7.8%?
it's 7.0%. 7.0% was the
Still.
average over the 25 years. And you got to remember that included boom years and also the 2008 meltdown and all that. So property actually, to the 10th of a point, kept pace with the Standard & Poor's 500. So it is a legitimate investment. The other thing it's worth noting is in 2008, when the S&P fell by over 50%, property values did not fall nearly to that level. So it hit the same growth over that period and did not have the same downturn in the downturn. So it's a valid investment.
Well, they're not making any more of it the last time I checked either. So
Right.
I think that's another good thing to know here. So Jim, let's take it from this perspective. Let's say that you're an old codger like myself, and you're getting ready to retire, or you want to cash out your 401k and just not take a hit on the second dip or third dip that's potentially coming, or you're just ready to move on and do something else. Walk me through somebody who's only owned homes his whole life in terms of what I should be looking for. And then what separates you from, other folks in terms of what you would do with me in terms of showing me around a little bit and helping me understand what I should be looking for. Can you do that for us?
Okay, sure. Well, I'll start out with the first thing is you shouldn't use your home realtor. And I'm not saying that to be pejorative. Home realtors do a great job of selling homes, better than I do, right? You shouldn't use me to sell your home either. But they don't specialize in wilderness real estate. You say, well, so what? What's the difference? There's a huge difference. And so the difference is, one person is in high heels or, Johnson Murphy shoes. One person is in mud boots, and one person is crawling through thick brush. One person is, going through the property. It's physically demanding. It's uneven terrain. There are things like that. You got to have somebody who could do that. You got to have somebody who knows the land, who knows soils, who knows wildlife habitat, who has a passion for that. And home realtors, that's just not their thing. That's not what they know. So, and it's not only the ability to walk and know that land and show you that land, but it's also the knowledge of all the things that you need to buy land. So it's connections with outdoor property financiers, with well drillers, with perk testers, with foresters, with surveyors. All those things are critical, and a good property recreational property realtor has those connections. A home realtor will not, of course. And so it's really important that you get a realtor who specializes in outdoor recreational properties.
I'm assuming the mud boots are required, not the high heels to go tromp around on the ground.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. And so you can tell, if you want to do a quick comparison, I've done this in presentations where I'll show, a property, a wilderness property being sold by a home realtor, typically 1 or 2 sentence description, a couple of shots from the shoulder of the road out the car window, and that's what you've got online as your listing, right? When we do listings, we will have 30 to 50 high quality photos that really show the wildlife habitat, the terrain, what the property's like. We'll have drone pictures. We'll have a very full description that includes timber, soils, things like that. So you would see a gigantic difference between a listing that we would provide and a listing that a typical home realtor would provide. So that's the first thing, is get the right expert if you're going to do that. The second thing I would say is, and then another thing, that the last thing that expert brings is the ability to cut costs, right? So there's a lot of programs out there that can make land more affordable. There are things like something called the Michigan Qualified Forest Program. It can cut your taxes. There are ag exemptions. You can lease out, if you have any open land that you want to farm, maybe even for wildlife, you can lease that out to farmers and get income for that. Timber, you can do selective timber cuts to get money for that. There are things called conservation easements that can greatly reduce your tax burden. There are just a whole variety of programs, 1031 exchanges that can limit the tax damage and cut your operating costs. So A good land realtor knows about those things, knows how to hook you up with those things. Somebody who's never sold land is not going to know any of those programs exist. They're not going to help you.
I think that's great, Jim. So another question then to go along with that, right? So let's say that I am not looking to necessarily hunt. I just want to, do some birding and take pictures of the deer, and but I do want to, have some value. I want to have some acreage on there, and so I think that what you brought up in terms of maximizing that land while looking at it as an investment, but still being able to enjoy it and a place to get away from the normal drags of life. There's properties out there that have, I'm sure, a variety of different, housing needs, and from, rustic cabins to, pretty well outfit, places as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. Well, so I would, somebody who, your scenario where it's a first time property buyer, I would encourage them, first of all, again, to not look at it as an expense, but look at your investment portfolio. How much of it do you want to diversify from paper or whatever else you have to how much you willing and able and wanting to diversify into land. So that kind of sets you, what are you going to spend, right? Then once you know what you're going to spend, there's a set of trade-offs like with anything else in life, right? So generally, the bigger the property, obviously the more expensive. If you want 160 acres, that's going to be a lot more than 40. But then also, how far are you willing to drive? If you live and work in Metro Detroit, if you're willing to drive 3-4 hours, your property per acre is going to be much cheaper than if you really want to be able to get out there in an hour. So there's distance from a major metro area that drives cost. There's water, right? If you want to be on big water, a nice river, an inland lake, the Great Lakes, that obviously is going to be far more expensive than if you're going to be in the middle of the woods, right?
Right.
Right. So and so you kind of have to weigh off these things. One of the things I have encouraged people is to look at your whole family's needs. So me as a hunter, I tend to just look at the property as a hunting property and get the best hunting property in the middle of nowhere, and be done with it. But then you've got this real, this pretty expensive piece of land. And if you're the only one in the family, or maybe a couple people hunted on the family and maybe the spouse doesn't, or some of the other children don't, there's a tension. And so you want to get a property that everyone can use, to your point. That not everybody's going to hunt. So is it close to water? Does it have maybe even close to places where there's interesting shopping or other things you can do, so that the property is a fun place for everybody to go, water sports, whatever, and it's not just for the hunter. Now that requires some trade-offs and compromises that can make it more expensive. But I really encourage people to consider the entire family and their uses, so that it's something that you're going to build a legacy for the whole family, not just a place for dad.
And you're speaking from experience as a landholder off and on with a big family of 6. So,
yes.
So here, Jim, real quick, what I'm going to say is that if you're interested in, checking out some property, you can reach Jim. We'll get his information here in a second, and I'll also post it in the video descriptions and things. But you'll service people from all over the country, right? This is the age we live in. There may be former Michiganders who are coming in and, might want to, set up some time to meet with you, and maybe you're not. Maybe you'd like to be here, because we have, I think, the greatest state in terms of natural resources. We have everything, and so, Jim, how can people contact you?
Okay, they can contact me by phone at 248-840-5668.
And that number again?
248-840-5668.
Okay.
They can get me by email at Jim, that's my one. J Lochrie, JLOCHRIE at mossyoakproperties.com. So it's JLOCHRIE at mossyoakproperties.com. And so email
Excellent.
or phone or text or whatever.
Okay. So I know that typically land takes a little bit different financing, but I typically am going to be asking people 3 questions: cash, credit, or crypto. I'm assuming you guys will make cash transactions with the sellers, or vice versa. If you have a big enough credit limit, I'm assuming that may be an option for you. Have you ever done any transactions via crypto? Do you guys accept that?
Okay. But I would be very interested. We would work with a title company to try to be as flexible as possible for whatever the buyer wanted to use. Yeah.
Excellent. Jim, We are on the button, my friend, and thank you for spending time with us. Any
Okay.
final words?
Um, no, just what I love about the one thing I didn't get to share is I love that I'm in the business of memories, right? It's not, I don't view myself as selling just land and dirt, which is what I do, but it's memories. You're giving people the opportunity to build a cross-generational legacy of family memories. And to me, that's an extremely exciting thing to help.
That's
That's it.
awesome. I think that's a perfect way to state it. Jim Lochrie, Mossy Oak Properties. This is Paul Merriweather, Small Business Shout Out. Thank you, Jim, and we'll look forward to seeing you again sometime, hopefully.
Thank you.